It's small, silent, and deceptively simple. 6 faces, 9 squares per side, just 54 colored stickers. But this plastic puzzle, the Rubik's Cube, has captured the minds of millions for over 4 decades. And what most people don't realize is that every time you twist it, your brain is undergoing a cognitive workout more intense than you think. You're not just playing, you're rewiring your mind. Solving the Rubik's Cube isn't about speed, it's about structure. It demands spatial reasoning, working memory, motor coordination, logic, patience, and problem-solving all at once. And it does this in real time, under pressure, and in 3 dimensions. Let's break that down. First, there's tanked visual spatial processing, the ability to understand the relationship between objects in space. Every twist changes the configuration of 26 pieces. To solve it, you must mentally visualize the cube in motion, hold multiple orientations in your mind, and anticipate the results of your moves before you make them. This activates the parietal lobe, especially the superior parietal lobule, which is responsible for spatial awareness. Studies using fMRI scans have shown that experienced cubers display increased activity in this region, comparable to pilots, surgeons, and architects. Next comes working memory. Your brain's ability to temporarily store and manipulate information. When solving a cube, you're juggling move sequences, positions, and possible paths forward. You have to remember what you've done, what you're about to do, and what the consequences will be. This engages the prefrontal cortex, especially the dorsolateral region, which governs executive function. Essentially, your brain is running a simulation, testing virtual outcomes before committing to a real-world action. Then there's motor coordination. Cubing isn't just mental, it's physical. Speed cubers often perform 3 to 4 moves per second. That's over 200 precise finger movements in under a minute, with both hands working in synchronized patterns. This activates the cerebellum and motor cortex, enhancing fine motor skills and bilateral coordination. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The cube teaches algorithmic thinking. Most solvers don't memorize thousands of solutions. They learn a set of logical procedures, step-by-step algorithms that move pieces without disturbing others. You learn cause and effect, input and output. This is foundational to computer science, mathematics, and logic. You're not just solving a toy. You're training your brain to think systematically. And yet the Rubik's Cube doesn't feel like schoolwork. It feels like play. That's part of its genius. It's a self-rewarding feedback loop. Twist, align, solve. Each move gets you closer to order. Each success releases a microdose of dopamine, a biochemical reward for pattern recognition. And that recognition, those little flashes of insight, is what forges neural pathways. Repeated cube solving strengthens synaptic connections between brain regions. This is neuroplasticity in action. The brain's ability to rewire itself through experience. The more you practice, the more efficient your brain becomes at integrating logic, memory, and motion. That's why children who learn to solve the Rubik's Cube often show improved performance in unrelated areas: math, spatial reasoning, even language learning. It's also why cubing is used in some cognitive therapies for ADHD, autism, and early-stage dementia. It's not just a challenge, it's a tool. But what makes the cube so unique is that it forces convergent thinking, solving a problem with a single correct solution while also demanding divergent thinking. Adapting to unexpected configurations, choosing alternate strategies, even creating new algorithms on the fly. This dual-mode processing, analytical and creative, activates both hemispheres of the brain. You're using logic but also intuition. You're following rules but also inventing them. It's chess in your hands. And unlike most games, the Rubik's Cube doesn't give you time to think linearly. It demands parallel processing. Every turn affects multiple faces. Every move has ripple effects. You learn to think in systems, adjusting inputs to generate the right global output. This kind of thinking is crucial in modern life. From programming to engineering, from surgery to strategy, from business to music, systems thinking is what separates good from great. And yet, this entire mental upgrade is packed into a block of plastic you can buy for less than $10. It's not flashy. It doesn't make noise. It just sits there, waiting for someone to pick it up, turn it, twist it, and discover that the real puzzle isn't the cube. It's the mind behind it. The Rubik's Cube wasn't meant to be a global phenomenon. It was invented in 1974 by Hungarian architect Ernő Rubik, not as a toy, but as a tool to help explain three-dimensional geometry to his students. He called it the magic cube. It wasn't about speed or competition. It was about understanding space, structure, and symmetry. But once it left the classroom, something unexpected happened. The world fell in love with the puzzle. By 1980, the cube had become a global sensation. Over 100 million units were sold within just a few years. It was colorful, tactile, portable, and completely maddening. But people kept trying, kept twisting, kept chasing that final satisfying click when all the colors finally aligned. And without realizing it, they were engaging in one of the most mentally demanding tasks ever disguised as play. As the decades passed, the Rubik's Cube faded from mainstream pop culture, but it never truly disappeared. Instead, it evolved, quietly building a cult following of problem solvers, hobbyists, and eventually, speed cubers. Speed cubing is the sport of solving the cube as fast as humanly possible. At first, it was just a handful of enthusiasts trading algorithms in online forums, but then the World Cube Association was founded. Competitions spread, records shattered, and what was once a quirky classroom tool became the centerpiece of an elite cognitive sporting discipline. Modern speed cubers can solve the cube in under 4 seconds. Think about that. From total chaos to perfect order in less time than it takes to blink twice. The current world record as of this script is 3.13 seconds. That's not just fast, that's superhuman. Or at least it feels that way, until you realize what's actually happening. These solvers have trained their brains to recognize patterns instantly, to convert visual input into motor action without conscious thought. What looks like magic is really the product of thousands of hours of deliberate neural tuning. It's not instinct, it's architecture, built move by move, mistake by mistake, through the slow burn of practice. And the tools they use are just as evolved. Today's cubes are nothing like the stiff, squeaky ones from the 80s. They have magnets, lubricants, adjustable tensions. They're engineered for speed and control. And they reflect how far the culture of cubing has come, from novelty to sport to science. But here's what's truly fascinating. While speed cubing gets the spotlight, the Rubik's Cube is quietly changing lives behind the scenes. In schools, educators use the cube to teach logic, patience, perseverance. It's been shown to improve concentration in students with ADHD. It helps children with autism develop fine motor skills and pattern recognition. It provides a sense of order in a chaotic world, especially for minds that crave structure. In retirement homes, solving the cube helps elderly people maintain cognitive agility. It strengthens working memory, hand-eye coordination, and focus. In some cases, it's even used in rehabilitation, retraining damaged neural pathways through repetitive spatial tasks. And then there's the emotional layer. The Rubik's Cube teaches failure. Every twist that doesn't work is a lesson. Every setback is part of the process. You don't brute force a solution. You learn to pause, reflect, adapt. It's a tactile reminder that progress is non-linear and that frustration is not the enemy. It's the tutor. In a world that moves at algorithmic speed, the cube reminds us that true learning takes time. That mastery is built, not bought. That attention is a muscle, and puzzles like these keep it strong. And perhaps most importantly, the Rubik's Cube connects people. It creates a shared language across cultures, generations, and disciplines. You don't need to speak the same language to teach someone how to solve a cube. You don't need a screen, just the will to learn. and the patience to practice. In that way, the Rubik's Cube is more than a puzzle. It's a symbol of focus in a distracted world, of perseverance in a culture of shortcuts, of simplicity that unlocks complexity. And even if you never solve one, even if you never touch one, just the idea that such a small object can carry so much meaning, that says something powerful. That says the most important puzzles aren't the ones in our hands, they're the ones in our minds. But the Rubik's Cube doesn't just challenge your fingers, it rewires your brain. Neuroscientists have studied what happens in the mind of someone learning to solve the cube, and the results are astonishing. At first, the brain lights up in areas responsible for working memory, spatial reasoning, and motor control. But over time, with practice, something strange happens. The activity shifts. What once required conscious effort becomes automated. The solver enters a state of flow. Moves become muscle memory. Solutions emerge not through thinking, but through intuition. This transformation is a textbook example of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new connections. Each failed attempt at the cube is like weightlifting for your neurons. Every time you pause to recognize a pattern, convert it into a sequence of movements, and execute that sequence, you're strengthening cognitive pathways. You're becoming faster, not just at cubing, but at thinking. And the benefits don't stay inside the cube. Studies show that regular problem solving with puzzles like the Rubik's Cube improves attention span, decision-making, and even creativity. Because to solve the cube, you have to think in systems. You have to plan ahead, reverse engineer problems, visualize outcomes. These are the same skills used by engineers, architects, surgeons, and strategists. In fact, some companies use the cube during job interviews, not to test whether candidates can solve it, but to observe how they approach the problem. Do they panic? Do they plan? Do they persist? But perhaps the most underrated mental skill the cube teaches is delayed gratification. Solving it is a long-term reward. You don't get instant success. You twist and fail and reorient. You sacrifice progress on one face to fix another. It's a lesson in patience, something vanishingly rare in our world of instant everything. And it's not just individual brains being shaped. Entire communities have formed around the cube. Online forums, YouTube tutorials, social media groups, Discord servers, places where solvers share techniques, create guides, and build friendships. At competitions, you'll see kids barely old enough to tie their shoes solving in under 10 seconds, while adults cheer them on like they're watching the World Cup. There's no ego, no gatekeeping, just curiosity, determination, and mutual awe. And then there's the cultural side. In many countries, the Rubik's Cube has become a status symbol, not of wealth, but of discipline. In China and India, millions of children learn to solve the cube in school programs. In Japan, cubing has been incorporated into mental training regimens. In parts of Africa and South America, non-profit organizations use the cube to teach underprivileged youth about mathematics, physics, and focus. It's not just a toy, it's a bridge. It teaches without words. It challenges without judgment. It rewards effort, not talent, because unlike most things in life, the Rubik's Cube is fair. It doesn't care how smart you are, where you come from, or what you believe. The solution is there, waiting for you, always solvable, always just out of reach, until you're ready to see it. And that's what makes it beautiful. In a chaotic world where problems often feel unsolvable, the cube is a reminder. Order is possible. Logic works. Progress is real. One twist at a time. Now let's go deeper. Not into the mechanics of solving the cube, but into what it symbolizes. Because the Rubik's Cube isn't just a puzzle. It's a metaphor. For life. For struggle. For the way we deal with complexity. Think about it. You pick it up, twist a few sides, and suddenly it's a mess. A vibrant explosion of colors, totally disordered. And your first instinct might be panic. How do I get back to where I started? How do I fix this? That feeling, the moment when control slips through your fingers, is something every human knows. The cube in that moment becomes a mirror. It shows you how you react to confusion. Some people give up immediately. Others keep twisting randomly, hoping luck will fix the chaos. But the real path to solving it begins when you pause and start looking for patterns. That's the essence of growth, recognizing that chaos isn't the enemy. It's the material from which meaning is shaped. You don't need to understand the entire cube at once. You just need to solve one part, then another, then another. Small victories, accumulated insight. Eventually it clicks, and suddenly what once seemed impossible feels inevitable. That's how the human brain learns everything, from walking to language to love, through trial, error, repetition, through moments of despair followed by breakthroughs. And the cube, for all its colored simplicity, compresses that entire journey into your hands. It also teaches a hard truth. Sometimes to make progress, you have to break things. In cubing, you often have to undo part of the puzzle to solve another section. You mess up a face you've already fixed to move a deeper piece into place. It feels wrong, counterintuitive, but it's necessary. Just like in life, growth often requires discomfort, rebuilding, starting over. And yet, it works, because the cube obeys logic. There is no luck, no randomness. Every piece has a place, every move has a cause. It rewards not just intelligence, but understanding. You can't brute force it forever. You have to learn the language of the puzzle. You have to listen. That's why so many people describe solving the cube as meditative. It's not about thinking harder, it's about thinking differently. About syncing your movements with your thoughts. About finding rhythm inside complexity. It's a kind of dance, a mental choreography that leads you toward clarity. And for many, that clarity is addictive. It becomes a daily ritual, a way to focus the mind, to quiet anxiety, to reconnect with logic when life feels chaotic. The cube becomes a sanctuary, a space where the rules make sense, where the world is small enough to manage, where success is always within reach if you just keep trying. That's why the Rubik's Cube has lasted. Why it's more than a fad. Because it doesn't just challenge your intellect. It engages your soul. It speaks to the part of you that craves order, mastery, and meaning. It whispers, there is a solution. You just haven't seen it yet. And in a time when life feels increasingly uncertain, when the problems we face seem too big, too messy, too complex, the cube reminds us that progress is still possible, that no matter how twisted things may seem, you can always start with one move. And now the cube sits in your hands. Solved or unsolved, it doesn't matter. What matters is what it's taught you. This little plastic object with its spinning faces and bright colors is more than a puzzle. It's a challenge, a teacher, a symbol. It teaches that complexity can be understood. That disorder isn't permanent. That chaos, when approached with patience and strategy, can transform into beauty. And maybe most importantly, it teaches you about you. How do you react to failure? Do you keep twisting blindly, or do you stop and learn? Do you seek help, study, adapt, or do you quit? The cube reflects your habits, your persistence, your frustration, your growth. It's not just a brain game. It's a psychological mirror. And it's honest. It never lies, never gives you shortcuts. Every rotation changes something, just like every decision in life. You can't fix it by accident. You have to understand it. Respect it. Work with it. That's why people don't just solve the cube. They fall in love with it. Because once you master the basic algorithm, you realize there's more. Speed cubing. One-handed solves. Blindfolded challenges. There are world records to chase, new methods to learn, communities to join. It's infinite. Like chess, like music, like any true art form. And at the center of it all is a simple idea. Anything complicated can be learned. That's the real gift of the Rubik's Cube. It's not about solving a toy. It's about reshaping the way you see problems. When you start, it feels impossible. Too many moving parts. Too many combinations. But as you practice, you begin to see structure where there was once only confusion. You start to trust that effort leads to understanding. That mistakes are just steps on the path to mastery. And if that lesson sticks, if you carry it into the rest of your life, then the cube has done its job. So maybe it's not just a puzzle. Maybe it's a blueprint, a tool for building the kind of mind that can face anything. A quiet reminder that you are capable of more than you think. Because if you can learn to solve the Rubik's Cube, you can learn anything. All it takes is one twist to begin.